My name my name is Kai Xian, and I'm going to be taking you through a class, a basic essential oil 101 for pets today. This is actually a very huge topic because for the longest time, at least I think in Singapore, I don't know about our Filipino friends here, quite a number that's going to come in soon. I think it's not taught greatly, the subject. And then there's a lot of very confusing information out there. And I never thought that I personally would be really excited about teaching this because I started using essential oil 16 years ago, and it has always been for my human friends. Okay. But something stirred just in the last year or so. And I started getting very curious around what are some of the real information, because I have had pets before in the 16 years I've used oils, and I've always used it on them. I've used it around them. I didn't do a lot of Googling and whatsoever because I trusted the brand, and later we'll talk about it. But as I began to use more of it, and then I hear friends around me ask questions, I realized that there's a lot of information that feels very vague and a lot of misinformation out there in the web when you Google as well. So I thought I'll put together this class, especially since July, I managed to be in US for an animal conference. We may not have a chance to talk a lot about what they taught. That may have to be a separate session because today is really basic 101. But that 4 days over there really helped me to solidify my belief and understanding why we're using essential oils on animals. And I hope that today the information will inspire you and have you explore this. Okay, so I'm going to put on my slides so we will talk through all of this information. Okay. Okay, we're good. Yeah, everyone can see my slides. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Like I say, a quick introduction. I've been in the essential oil business for 16 years right now. We have a customer base worldwide, almost 30,000 members, human beings. Okay, they probably have animals somewhat. Like I said, I have never focused in that area until very recently. My own background, I am a certified health coach with an institution in New York. And I did have to put it there. I'm an ex-mommy. A little bit sad, heartbreaking to have to put that. But I had 4 cats before. Tofu was my first cat. They are all street cats, by the way. All picked up, adopted, raised in my little HDB. They are oily cats. I have to say, out of all 4, maybe the last little one, Turan, is the only one who don't really take on my oily habits. Everybody else has been quite cool with it. Tofu and Kit Kat has since passed on. And Huran and Turan, we kind of raised them when they were kittens. They are still now with my partner. Okay, so let's take a look at some fundamentals about essential oils first. I do want to highlight the significant history about essential oils, or rather the idea of using herbs for treatment. But we're going to go back to history and look at the Black Plague, which happened, it's like our pandemic back then. That we've experienced a few years back, but this is way back in 1300s in Western Eurasia and North Africa. And back then, if 3 persons got infected, it's literally like, if 3 persons, 1 person would get infected. Sorry about that. And at least 25 million people died in Europe. So it was one of those big things. But specifically, I'd like to bring your attention to that picture that you're going to see there, which it's like a human being in this cloak and then wearing a mask with this beak. I don't know whether you have ever seen this image before. Oops, sorry. But what happened when I was beginning to do my studies in the idea of essential oils, essential oil certification, this image was shown to us because this was how the doctors dressed up to be during the plague. Kind of weird, right? Why were they pretending to be birds? Okay. What really happened is they had this mask with the beak, and in the beak itself is where they had stuffed all the dry herbs. Because the findings at that point in time by the doctors was that certain herbs, when you put together and ground them up, they have very protective nature, and they are very, very strong immune protector and fighting viruses and airborne diseases. So the doctors would put it there because they probably don't know how else to hold like the herbs, which is like loose leaves, etc. So they created something like that with a beak-like structure and stuffed it all in there, so that as they go around in their rounds of, checking on people, treating people, they were constantly inhaling the natural release. It was not essential oil, but the natural release of the smells from the crushed herbs. So this is literally how people have always known plants heal. And actually, plants are very, very protective in nature, and they have great superpowers, to be honest. Okay. Now, moving forward, of course, the industry started really looking at how do we really extract the essences. So we, as Chinese, know that we brew herbs and then we make teas and soups because they're good for our health. What about essential oils itself? And what is an essential oil? First and first, if you were to take a plant and kind of like leaf, and then you break it, you're going to find liquid in there. The liquid itself is not yet essential oil. What happens is there is like a structure, like a cell that actually holds the liquid, and even that liquid itself, it needs to be further distilled for the essential oil to be separated. Now, this particular substance is in the plants for a specific reason, right? God doesn't create things for nothing just because he wants to beautify. There are reasons why he puts all these different natural chemical constituents in plants. For the plants itself, let's break it down to 4 key functions. Number 1, for the plants, they need it to help them fight diseases. Okay, it's part of their immune system. Number 2, the essential oils in the plants help to deliver oxygen to different parts of the plants. Oxygen for a living thing needs to live, needs the oxygen. Okay. Number 3, it supports the healing if the plant gets attacked and injured. And number 4, it also supports the plant to actually detox what's not healthy in the body. Okay. So the beautiful thing is, because the human body is so similar to plants in nature, we are so compatible that anything that is in the plant itself can be easily used on the human body for all the same 4 reasons that you see here. It can fight diseases, deliver oxygen, support healing, and detox waste. If you've not seen this before, just so you know, essential oils contain really, really tiny molecules, and 1 drop of essential oil contains approximately 40 million trillion molecules. And each of this travels really fast in this is a human body statistics. So in a human being, it takes 22 seconds for that molecule to get to our brain, 2 minutes to our bloodstream, and 20 minutes to every cell in our human body. Okay? So every drop of essential oil is potent enough to really saturate and really help us. This is also an important foundation that I wanted to make sure everyone is aware of, that there are 3 ways to use a really good essential oil. The first one very, very common to folks is to diffuse or inhale. When I say inhale, it's literally, I could take a bottle of essential oil, drip it into my palm the oil together, cup it over my nose. That's direct inhalation. Or you could put it into a diffuser and diffuse it in a room environment. So that's very common. The second way is also common to most people, which is to apply or massage. The first way, by the way, is a method that is hugely advocated by the German. Okay. The second way is a huge method that the British advocate, massage or apply. Okay. But they usually dilute quite a bit as well. And then the last one is what we call just ingestion, adding to food or drinks. The last one is usually when most people gasp a little bit and they kind of will look at me in a class and go, nobody told me that we can ingest essential oils. Most of the time, you would not ingest any commercial essential oil because commercial essential oils usually have a lot of additives to it. Chemicals are used to dilute the oil, so it's less expensive. Or alcohol is used extensively to actually pull out essential oils. So with that, in the commercial environment, you aren't going to hear people very often talking about adding it to food and drink. You literally need to find very, very good quality essential oil producer to be able to understand that essential oils can be used this way. And the history of using ingestion comes from the French folks. The French people, even until today, if you were to go to France and go to a pharmacy, if you're actually unwell, I know this because I was there in the pharmacy witnessing this when one of my friends was not feeling very well on a trip. And if you go to the counter, speak to a pharmacist, they will ask you, would you like medication or would you like an essential oil? So they can make you a tincture or essential oil for you to bring back home and ingest. Or you can take pills and capsules that's already pre-made by pharmaceuticals. So it is a lifestyle in France itself, okay? So here's a quick overview. It may look like, wow, very complicated. How come so many grades of essential oils, etc.? As you look at this chart, I would rather summarize it in a story about one of the plants. And in and through the story, you're going to understand how different distillation of essential oils can be in an industry. Okay. So we have a plant called cypress, and cypress comes from a huge tree. It's a very grounding plant. And what happens is people use it a lot for circulation. It's also good for chesty, cough, flu, etc. In the industry, people will averagely take the plant material and then distill it for maybe about 2 hours, 15 minutes. Okay, 2 hours, 15 minutes. If you were to guess in your head right now, a company producing a therapeutic grade oil, which is in this diagram, we're talking about grade A oil. How long do you actually think people would distill cypress for? Industry standard, 2 hours, 15 minutes. In a company that actually is trying to capture all the therapeutic essences of the plant, what do you think they would take? So usually in classes, people throw out answers, okay? If you want to, feel free to put it in the chat, okay? But what happens specifically in the young living oils that we're going to be talking about today, they take almost 24 hours, okay? Almost 24 hours compared to a 2-hour, 15-minute time. And if you think about it, to keep my steamer on, that's electricity, that is manpower that I have to ensure that I bring in there to monitor everything and keep everything safe and guarded, all of that is multiple folds much more expensive for a company to put in. The two oils, when they're distilled out to a layman, if you were to smell a 2-hour, 15-minute oil versus a 24-hour cypress, for a layman like me and you, we might go, I can't tell the difference. They smell like cypress. Okay. But in the industry, it does make a difference because the oils that they extract out, when they actually put it under series of tests, the number of natural chemical constituents that get produced is completely different. Okay. In a 2-hour oil, you're probably going to get 20 or maybe a little bit more. In a 24-hour distilled oil, it's at least 200 plus chemical constituents. Why would that matter? Because in a plant, it was always created with a full spectrum of chemicals, even the one that only takes 0.001% in the entire chemical profile. That 0.01% is extremely important. If you were to step into a science class with one of my teachers that talks about essential oils, he can prove to you a 0.01% change in constituency can make an oil or a substance that was harmless to become something that is poisonous. Okay, just by removing that 0.01% constituent. So imagine this. If you had a producer that was only distilling an essential oil for the 2 hours, 15 minutes, number one, they do not produce the entire spectrum of chemical constituents because most of the tiny chemical constituents actually only get distilled out in the last few hours of that 24-hour cycle. Okay, so what they get is maybe bulk of the chemical constituents, but it's not complete. And in an essential oil world, when we talk about quality, it is so important that we understand that you are using essential oils that have a complete profile. That's the term that we like to use, a complete profile. You don't want something that is 6:30, as we would say in Singapore, that has some things and don't have some things, because that's not how nature actually wanted plants to be. If it was 250 compounds, it should be 250 compounds that get delivered so that you see the efficacy and effectiveness of how the essential oil works on the body. Okay, so just from this story, very quickly, I can already tell you that's the differentiating factor between grade A and grade B. C and D are just very chemical essential oils that sometimes don't even have any natural ingredients in there. But the one that people always find that they kind of get stuck upon is they ask the question, so is organic good enough? And the answer is no. If you actually done enough research in the field of organic, you will know that that certification to get a stamp chop on your product to say your, whatever product is organic, it doesn't mean that you have to have 100% organic sources. Okay, they give a certain leeway for people to include ingredients that are not. And on top of that, organic probably refers to how clean the soil is. Are they able to make sure that it's not polluted with pesticides and other chemicals, etc. But organic in itself does not guarantee, does not even justify if the oil was distilled and produced in a manner that captures the full spectrum of an essential oil. And I think that this is so important for people to understand, because it's, as consumers, sometimes we just, kind of convenient and we just look for that stamp on products when that doesn't in itself tell you that it's the greatest, best product that you should be using. Okay. So I'm going to show you some information, examples, stories, because I think people love stories about using essential oils for animals. And I thought, what other better ways than to show you some real life examples? Okay, so dogs. These two were dogs that were staying in the Airbnb that I was at in US. And I want to kind of show you how cool this is. I'll show you the video first. This first picture is of the dog Mac. He was a guest in the house. So he was being babysat because the parents kind of went away, I think, for a week. So he was there. Now, with animals, the most interesting thing about it is they are very, very intuitive in nature. So without us intervening, typically with essential oils, they can tell you if they will come close to a scent or they will move away. So if they tend to want to come close, body language, etc., they would really tell you that they want that oil. And that's when you know that that's an oil that they inherently know that they need. Okay. If they turn away, please don't run after them with the oil. That's usually when they go, that's not what I need. So, mommy, daddy, please don't force it upon me. Okay. So I want you to watch this first video clip. This is Mac. See, one of the things that do happen is they get so excited that they even want to eat and lick it. And this particular bottle is called Valor. I wasn't surprised how much Mac wanted this bottle because he was being a little bit nervous. So when we started staying in the Airbnb for that week, the owner was telling us that because he's just there being babysat, he's a little bit more, he's got a lot of friends around, a lot of dogs. The house had about five dogs. But one of the things we noticed that he will always do is go stand at the window and then he would just keep looking out because he's almost wondering, are my parents coming back soon? Okay, so there is such a nervousness that he was beginning to have. And Valor is an oil that particularly is good for confidence and good for settling nervous emotions in humans and in animals. So before that, I remember that we were using some other oils. Every time we open it, he walks away. He wasn't that interested. But with Valor, he was just coming after me. And he was like a big dog. So he would try to get onto my lap. So I kind of push him down and then I put it, notice this is like a chair. I put the bottle there and he would literally try to go for it and wants to eat it up. Okay. This second picture is another dog called Mabel. Mabel was a rescued dog. And I think when she was rescued, the condition was that she had been abused before. And in particular, she was a little bit more afraid of men, human beings in general, but even men, she's very, very cautious. So this is my room. So if you look at the picture, it's my room upstairs. On the right-hand side, there's a stairway down to the first floor. We typically, the guests just leave our room doors open and the dogs wander. So this was one time when I actually walked up. She has never come up before. And I saw her in my room. And because she realized that I was there, she was a little bit sheepish. Let me just show you the video. She was super cute. She got a little bit shy. Like she wanted to come in, but don't want to come in because I'm now in the room. And I walked into the room. I was teaching at that point in time a class on a set of oils called the Feelings Kit. So all the oils were there to be used for emotional purposes. So I had the 6 little bottles lined up on a shelf. And after she left, I walked back into the room and I noticed that, oh, she must have come close to it because they all look like they've been moved around. So she was clearly sniffing around, disturbing them. And then one particular oil, whether you can say it's coincidence or not, the oil that has fallen onto the ground was this bottle called Inner Child. And even with humans, we use inner child for a lot of inner child work. So if we've grown up in some ways that we felt like it could be abuse. It doesn't always have to be an abusive situation, but if we didn't grow up with the strongest foundation, that usually is an oil that a lot of people gravitate towards because it has such a soothing effect on calming your nerves. So again, you can say it's an accident or not, but that was the particular bottle that I found with the lid open and on the floor. Now, oils with cats. This is a huge sensitive topic. Earlier on, I mentioned I have 4 cats, and I've used all sorts of oils around them, on them. Like even a lot of people say you can't use citrus oils with cats. I didn't find that true. I have had that diffusing in my house, and they have never had an issue around it. Now, before I go on, one of the other important things you need to know when you're using essential oils around animals is to always create that freedom of choice. Like I say, let them choose, let them smell it, let them choose. The other thing that's very important is keep the doors open. So if they had really certain reactions and they kind of like, oh, I really don't like this oil, they have that autonomy and agency to leave the room without feeling like they're stuck and trapped. Okay. This lady over here, she's one of my teachers. Her name is Allie Phillips. She lives in US, and before she started teaching about essential oils, she was a lawyer. So she's one person who is very, very particular about details and reading into the tiny sub lines and conditions, etc. So she always makes a huge fuss around understanding things in depth. So I love attending her class. And if you are keen, she has taught a class online. It's in Zoom. I would be sending out that link for you after this class for all those who have attended with me in the Zoom. And you can watch it. She's uploaded it into YouTube. And it's a very comprehensive 1-hour class where she shows more examples of how she had used oils with animals that have been abused, with animals that have literally been hurt. Like there was a cat that was very badly scarred and hurt. Those are a little bit gory, but yeah, so you see a lot more evidence-based cases. So in this particular series of picture, what she really was demonstrating at that point was, again, this whole idea of letting your animals choose. So in her hand, she has 2 bottles of oil. The green one was Peace and Calming, and that brownish one was Copaiba. Peace and Calming is a scent that, again, it's very soothing and calming for the nerves. Copaiba is one oil that is very, very highly favored in the human and the animal circle. It is just from one plant, and it has such a high content of a natural substance called beta-carotene, which is a pain-killing, which has pain-killing effect. So it is, in fact, previously, I cannot remember the year, it was in the medical, written in the medical guide for doctors for using Copaiba on patients with pain. Okay. And of course, at some point in time, when they remove all the natural substances and kind of change the trajectory to medication, all those were no longer under records anymore. So this is her actually offering the 2 different oils to her cat. And again, you kind of see and observe how the cat respond. If they don't like it, again, one clear signal is they walk away. If they do feel that they need it, they come closer, they're smelling, sometimes they want to lick it, they want to eat it. And then later on, I'll show you about horses and other animals, okay? Oh, we are at the horses. So not all of us, obviously, are familiar with horses because we live in the city. But I have had the chance to really work with horses, and it's been marvelous watching them. The horses are much bigger size than us, so they definitely take the essential oils much more easily even without us diluting. So I want you to see the first video on the left. That's my friend Patricia. We were on a farm and there were farm animals. So this was a horse. Just before this, the story was I had pulled out some of the essential oil that was in my pocket. And whenever I'm near animals, I like to do that and just see how they respond to the oil. So this very same horse, when I pulled out whichever the other oil was not interested at all. He literally just kind of like, you know how horses like, they do that. And then he just walks away, can't be bothered with me. And then he moves on to further down where Patricia was standing. So Patricia dug into her handbag. And I want you to watch what he does. He really likes that. Oh my goodness. He really likes that. Yeah. So he was really wanting, he was really reaching out across the barrier because he wanted to get to that oil. And you can see it in horses very, very obviously. Their nose flare up. They kind of like, it looks almost a little bit fierce, but they're not fierce. Their teeth show because they're like really trying to get to the plant. To them, these are no different from plants in nature. So they resonate very well and they understand that it's something that resonates with what they need right now. So they will reach out for it. Okay. The second video on the right-hand side, this is a super old video that I dug up. And that's me. Okay. This was in JB in a house, in a place. Oh dear, I forgot the name of it. But it was like a riding place. And we were very privileged and honored that one of the carriers for the horses over there, she invited us to work with the horses because she is a huge advocate for anything natural rather than using chemical substances on her animals. So she invited us and we were doing Raindrop. Raindrop, for those of you who may not have heard of it, is a set of oils and 9 particular oils selected very specifically to address all the different body functions, from muscles to digestive system, to cardiovascular system, skin, etc., etc., etc. So it's used as a collection rather than just one oil by itself. You can. Like I'll give you an example. In there, there's oils like oregano, basil, very much like an Italian dish. After a while, you smell like it, wintergreen, peppermint, etc. So all these oils can be used individually. But as a healing treatment, we do this thing called the raindrop therapy. We do it for humans and we do it for animals. And so this is me in the JB farm where I got to actually put the oils on this big guy. Okay, just quickly show you. Hi. Is it okay? Yeah. So you notice that with the big animals, I'm pouring essential oils directly out from the bottle on the animal itself, on this huge guy. Yeah. That's one. Like that. Yeah. But then I did add a little bit of base oil. I think that was one of the first times I was working on this big guy. We just kind of like soothe the animal down. With horses, they are so intuitive and responsive. So when I start working on them, they kind of will bow their heads after a while to just rest. And while their legs usually would kind of be in this bending position to indicate that they really, really are in that restful state. And the other signs that animals are integrating the oils into their being is sometimes they yawn, sometimes they start chewing, okay? Even dogs and cats, they start chewing a lot, okay? It's their way of just kind of showing you that they're integrating the essential oils into their system. They could yawn. So those are nice body language that you can look out for, okay? We're going to go to the next one. So this is a friend of mine, Artemis. She is an animal communicator. Well, she actually does a lot of things. She does healing for people, animal communication, all of that. And if you've not noticed, there's a snake right up there by her shoulders. So I loved it when she shared on her Facebook one of the days when I first did this presentation, that she found her snake in the bathtub having a bath soak with essential oils. So prior to that, she had introduced her snake to the idea of soaking in the bathtub with essential oils. And apparently, she really liked it. The snake really, really liked it. But with snakes, they do require a heavy dilution, okay? And one of the ways that they emulsify oils, so imagine adding essential oils to water. The oils would technically float on the water, right? Artemis taught us a wonderful trick. If you have an ultrasonic diffuser, that is not one of those that's like with the candles and all. Ultrasonic diffuser usually has a little metal plate inside the diffuser. When you turn it on and plug it in, the metal plate is moving so fast, there's no heat at all, but it's moving so fast that it's causing the molecules of essential oils to break into millions and millions of like tiny molecules, and therefore you start seeing fumes and you can smell the oils in the air, okay? Now, if you want to emulsify essential oil into water, let's say even for DIY, a lot of times if you're doing DIY, you'll notice that if you're making a spray, you can't just add essential oil to water. They usually ask you to add things like witch hazel, because that's an agent that helps you to mix the oils with the water better. But the trick that Artemis taught us was to take your diffuser, put 6 to 8 drops in the water, turn it on for the next 15 minutes to 30 minutes. And what happens is that process of turning on the machine will create an emulsifying solution of the essential oil just by doing that. You can literally then pour out that water into a jar and then use it as a spray, air spray in the room. So without adding anything else, it's just water and essential oil, turn on your diffuser, give it a 15, 30 minutes go, you get emulsified solution, okay? Anyway, I just want to quickly show you that's our friend. It was really kind of hilarious because she said she didn't even know how the snake turned on the water because it really wasn't that full before that, or rather it didn't have that much water. There was a little bit left from the soak from the day before. And her dear friend really liked it. Somehow got into the bathroom and then turned on the tap, filled it up with a little bit more water, and then went in there and had her soak. So even our snakes actually do enjoy this. Okay, so those were some of the stories. And now I just want to quickly share with you some of the important things that you need to kind of keep in your mind when you're using essential oils. You can take screenshots of this. Happy that you're keeping this as records for yourself. One, size. Okay, clearly a bigger dog. You can use a little bit more. You don't need as much dilution. And we'll talk about dilution in a moment. Their hair density of the follicles, that changes the uptake of essential oils. Number 3, their sense of smell. So certain animals are a lot more sensitive. So you got to kind of pay attention and be aware of that. 4, the unique species. And a lot of this information, well, I wish I could tell you that you can purchase this book right now. We're still talking to the people who wrote it. This is an essential oil that's reference for animals. This is a great resource because it literally goes by sections for dogs, for cats, for birds, and different kinds of animals. And it helps you to understand a little bit more into the different species kind of needs, etc. Okay, but it's important to just kind of keep that at the back of your mind. Okay. Other things to consider: always provide plenty of clean drinking water, just as a human being would. If we are using a lot of essential oils, we always tell our human being friends, drink water, drink water, drink water. Remember that essential oils can detox your body. Okay, so if it does, you want it to be flushed out easily and safely with liquid inside. Number 6, we talked about that earlier, provide freedom to enter or leave. Then it makes the experience of using essential oil much more joyful and comfortable for the animal. So they know you're not going to force it upon them, and they know that they're free to enter and leave. Number 7, dilute the essential oil if it's needed. And number 8, if something does happen and you kind of notice that there is a little bit of discomfort that's appearing and happening for your animal, it is advisable to stop usage for a couple of days and then begin again slowly. Okay, this is also common in human beings. If we're suddenly using a lot, and if the essential oil is facilitating some kind of detox, we always tell people, hey, rest up, slow down, stop for a few days, and then when you're feeling better, you can go back to it. And then number 9, always consider the highest quality product. That's one of my cats that's Turan with essential oils. I've got so much essential oils all over the house. They're always hanging around and chewing on them, and yeah, and they've been fine. Okay. Now, the chart on the right-hand side, Rudy is one of Ellie Phillips' cats. She has, I can't remember, is it 4 or 5 cats in her house? Many of them are rescued as well. So Rudy is one of her like longtime cat. She had Rudy since he was very, very young. If you watch the video link that I'll send out to you guys later, you will actually see Rudy. He likes to sit on the back of her chair when she's teaching. And this is actually a screenshot of medical report that actually follows the liver and the kidney values. So again, let me remind you that Ellie is a lawyer. So everything to her is stats, is reports, is details. So she also understands that that's something that people sometimes do want to see and know. So she has always followed up, because also Rudy is getting old. She monitors his liver values and kidney values. And basically, they've always remained in that. If you see those 2 bars, I'm not sure if my cursor is highlighting them, the 2 different bars, the very fact that he is in the median range in his old cat, and he's very healthy with all the usages of essential oils over a long, long period of time, it's a very strong medical stats to actually have people actually understand the essential oils do not hurt your animals like what goes out there on the social media. Okay. So some fast facts that I do think is important for everyone to learn and know about different species. So we've included human beings there as a benchmark. Smell receptors wise, a human has 5 million of that. If you're looking at a cat, okay, a cat has 80 million and a dog 300 million. If you look at hair per square inch, a human being has about 1,250. Okay, on a cat, that's 60,000 on the back of the cat, 120,000 on the underside. And for a dog, it's 15,000 hair per square inch. This is important piece for us to remember how much more sensitive our animals are to us, or are to anything around them. Okay, not to us. They are as well, energetically. But this is so important, and I'll come to this last bit soon about what's in our environment. Okay. But again, now while we're talking about essential oils, I want you to remember the fact that they are so much more sensitive. So if for you, 1 drop is no issue, you probably need to dilute it on your tiny little animal to make sure that they are much more used to it. And how do you use oils on your pets? Very, very similar to what you saw just now for the humans. You can diffuse. You can use an ultrasonic diffuser so that the room and the air has diffusion there, and they're breathing in to that anyway. Okay, you can use it on surfaces. So for example, if I have an animal and I could put it on my scarf or on myself, and I'm holding on to my animal, that's like a surface that's not in contact with them, but they can smell it. Or a blanket. Rescue animals in particular, that's a really nice way to approach them by putting just, a diluted 1 drop of oil on a blanket and just slowly introduce it into a cage to create a sense of peace and change the mood a little bit and calm down the animal without having too strong a scent invading into their sphere. Okay. Spritzing, like we mentioned earlier, you could do an emulsify solution and just spray it around the room. So topically on animals, indirect application, what does that mean? One of the examples I was given for how they use oils with birds, like in the cages, the birds would usually, there will be like rods or like wooden stakes for the animal for the bird to be able to kind of hang on to and standing there and be perched there. One way, for example, is just rubbing a little bit of the essential oil solution on that. If it's a natural material like a piece of real wood, just rubbing it there is an indirect application because they will come into contact, but usually as they move around, not for long, but extend. Okay. Patting, it's literally like how you might see it in the picture over there, that you take the essential oil in your hands and then you just gently pat it down the foot because they're so sensitive because of the follicles. The oils that is actually already pre-diluted in your hands, as you pat it down, they are absorbing it very, very fast into their body. Water baths, something that we've seen just now with our snake friend. The last one, ingestion. So you could add essential oils either to water or to their food, especially if the animal is feeling unwell. Okay. One of the most common 2 oils that's usually introduced through oral ingestion is copaiba and lemon. Lemon typically when they're fighting any virus, that they have an abscess, they are bleeding, they are hurt, they're healing. Put a drop of lemon essential oil in a bowl of water. The one tip is to also have another bowl with just normal fresh water. So again, they have choice. They can go to either one, okay? And when they do that, when they take in the lemon, it helps build the immune system and helps fight whatever that they are dealing with. The second oil that's very, very common that we do introduce to animals for ingestion is copaiba. Copaiba is a great painkiller, like we mentioned earlier. So if your animal, for whatever reason, either OH, cancer, dealing with something that is creating pain in the body, and it's very obvious to you, add that in their feed or water because that's going to really, really help soothe the pain issue. It will be great to take a snapshot of this in terms of dilution guide. So sometimes when you refer to certain guidebooks on, like for example, the essential oils for animals, that reference book, you will hear them talk about this terminology of a solution referred to as 90%. When they say 90%, it basically means 1 drop of essential oil in 9 drops of carrier oil. Conversely, 80% solution will then means 2 drops of essential oil in 8 drops of carrier oil. So the entire chart here basically just gives you a sense what is a 90% solution all the way down to a 10% solution. At 50, it just means 5 drops of essential oils and 5 drops of carrier oil. So they also call it 50-50. Okay. Again, this is a general guideline. I think in the context where we live in, we're probably dealing with the small animals where it's 3 to 5 drops of the diluted mixture, or the larger animal, okay, 3 to 5 drops neat and dilute if it's a slightly hotter oil. And for the cattle, horses, and elephants, if one day you decide to keep them as pets, then we talk about it, okay? But this is an over reference guide that was given by our teachers, okay? Okay, we're coming to just one last bit, which a lot of people want to know. What are some basic oils to start off with? And what do people use essential oils for on animals? So here's some on the list. So just for example, using essential oils around them to keep the air fresh. Lemon purification blend, the Thieves blend are great ones to put in a ultrasonic diffuser and diffuse in the house. If you have multiple pets, you do know that generally it can get a little bit smelly if they're not kept well. If the places that they poo and pee is not kept as clean and cleaned up as often, that's always going to be a problem. So keeping the air fresh is so important. Okay. Number 2, calming their nerves and mood. Some of the animals also have anxiety and separation anxiety. They have certain fears, or they have. If you actually pick up animals from the streets, you do rescue as well. It's not uncommon to have animals be afraid of certain things or types of people. So using lavender, this blend called Valor or a blend called Peace and Calming, it's very, very useful to actually help calm them down. Also, if you're introducing animals to one another and you're trying to harmonize the mood, these are also options to use. So the third one, which we kind of mentioned, trauma, neglect, abuse, a little bit more intense in nature. The oil of frankincense, release, trauma life, valor. These are all great oils to use. If at the back of your mind, if you're right now asking me, oh, how do I apply all these oils? Remember the 3 different ways that we can work with the oils. You can diffuse it generally in the room or in their cage area. You can use massage or patting it on them or even on yourself when you're close to them. And then you can also add it in their feed if that's something that they will be willing to go towards. If they're having an infection or a bacterial situation, Thieves is a great oil to use, but remember that's a much hotter oil, so dilute it down much more. It could be a 90 to 80% solution. Purification and lemon in water is going to really help with that too. Skin and fur condition, lavender, purification blend, super useful. We have something called the animal scent ointment, currently not available in Singapore, but if you ever need, just let us know. We'll kind of ship it in for you from the US. It's an ointment base, kind of like a cream. Well, it's actually more ointment, and it's just super good on skin. I even use the animal scent ointment on my own skin if I get rashes and cuts, or I have this outbreak recently. It was kind of a mix of a dermatitis issue, like hives. None of the doctors seems to know what exactly it is. Nothing else that really helped me heal as much as using even like the animal scent ointment itself, because it's actually already have very nourishing essential oils in there. and then you just use it. But if you want to, you can use a little bit of the essential oil and then apply the animal scent ointment to kind of just keep it protected. Yeah, and holding it in. Digestion, we have a blend called Digest. Copaiba, which is the oil that I mentioned earlier, that is the, other than lemon, the other oil that is highly used for ingestion purposes. You can add that to food as well. It's really, really good to calm down the stomach. Or if you don't want to, just kind of dilute it and use that as a gentle patting or rubbing to the stomach area. Peppermint is a slightly hot oil too. One of my cats, that's Uran, he is a peppermint cat. So you would think that oils like this, you know, it's a little bit stingy. Even when we inhale it, we kind of close our eyes. He loves peppermint. Like whenever I do have peppermint on my hands, he's the first guy that comes and sit near me and then he's licking it off. And again, it is a natural instinct, and we are not surprised that he has kind of a little bit of digestive issues, and therefore he knows what he needs. Okay. Ningxia Red is a supplement. It comes in sachets like this, or in bottle form like this. This is completely empty already, so it doesn't even look red. This is a really good packed nutrition that people add in to help strengthen immune system for their animals. We're not going to in-depth about this today, but if you'd like to find out more, feel free to get in touch with me. Okay. Oh, the little box is smelled wrongly. It's not a little box, okay? It's the litter box. Especially for cats, because I'm a cat mama. So I know that with cats, it can really sting up the house. So use natural substances, baking soda, 4 drops of purification, or change it up, lemon. Very, very good and refreshing for the house. If it's a senior dog, oils like frankincense, copaiba, the last 3 are all supplements. That Ningxia Red is a drink. Agile Ease is a turmeric-based product, and sulfazyme provides the glucosamine, yeah, and the MSM. That is very good for the joints. So recently, I just talked to a friend who had worked with her elderly dog. Yeah. Lilac, yes, that's the name. Lilac has since passed on, but when Lilac was in her last few years, and as all people or animals do, it's like, you know, moving much slower, joints, legs can't move, etc. She did a lot of copaiba and another oil called Panaway. That's a much more expensive oil. She would dilute them and she will massage the joints a lot, and then she goes very heavy on the Ningxia Red sulfazyme for her. She didn't mention the Agile Ease, but Ningxia Red and sulfazyme to really support her, a lilac, so that she could still move around on her own and still be strong enough. Okay. I think. Oh, okay. This is for anyone new, or if you have friends who are curious and want to know how to get started. I want to very quickly be able to show you guys. We have a starter kit that has, we call it the Premium Experience Bundle. It has almost all the oils that we've talked about earlier on. It's put in the kit really because it's one of the easiest place to get started. So the 2 diffusers, you see an hour on top, and then below this is another diffuser. It's just basically graphically to show you, you can choose different types of diffuser for whatever that you have a preference on. But you get 10 different essential oils, a diffuser, and then you get a small little bottle of massage-based oil so that you can dilute your oils. You get smaller bottles that you can put your oils in there for easy travel use purposes. So this entire Premium Experience Bundle is at $254.68. So just picking this up allows you to actually start your own personal shopping cart with the company, and you're always purchasing the essential oils at a 24% discount from retail prices. Before I end, I do still have some other things to show you. and it's a very, very quick conversation, but I do think that it's important enough to talk about it. I picked all these pictures because mostly you are seeing the dog lying on the floor. The second picture is me just showing, the paws. By the way, the padded region is one of the most sensitive area for the animal. If you were going to apply any essential oil to the paws, don't apply it to the padded region. Notice where my thumb is, okay? That's the point where you may apply a little bit of the essential oils or even do a little bit of massage if you're working on the dog. But the padded regions, try not to put the essential oils. It might feel too much for the animal, okay? But that padded region is literally where they walk, right? Our animals don't wear shoes. Well, I do know some might wear socks for them, or they go out, they wear special types of shoes. That's my cat Tofu in the past. She's the queen in the house. She's always lying on bean bags. Our bed sheets, our carpets on the floor. This is my other little kitten, Tura, who really thinks that she herself is a dog. She's pretty aggressive around carrying her Care Bear. She always pulls it down from the shelf. She bites onto it and she runs around in the house. You try to pull it from her, she growls at you like a dog. Okay. And why do I bring all this up? Remember that chart where we show you how sensitive the hair, the whole number of hair per square inch on the animals. And with the numbers, you realize how sensitive our dogs and cats and animals are compared to human beings. And that brings us to one really important point. Are you aware and are you checking in on what you're using in your environment? It is actually no kind of like big surprise that even our animals nowadays do fall sick very easily. We have heard of someone with a pet with all sorts of different conditions and illnesses, which we likely wouldn't have heard so much of in the past few decades. But one of the things that the animals are dealing with, very much like the human beings, us, is that we're exposed to a lot of chemicals, a lot. Not just through inhalation, but through the very fact that they don't wear shoes and they are lying everywhere and touching everything. They are literally in contact with surfaces all the time. So it's one of the key things that I always talk about and I encourage pet owners to look into is how do we really begin to clean our house, whether it's the fabric, whether it's the floor, how do we remove chemical substances so that we're not loading their small, tiny bodies with these things that are breaking them apart, okay? So if you are someone that is willing to consider home cleaning, one of the best things that I know pet parents would always want to invest in is a green cleaning product. Whether you clean the surfaces, whether you wash the toys with it, I do. I always put a small half a cup into water and soak up all the crazy soft toys that the toys that my cats like to bite into and play all the time. I clean it up that way. I clean all my surfaces with it. There are the Thieves laundry soap whatsoever, but if you're not going to go that direction, don't worry about it. The Thieves household cleaner doubles up as for cleaning up linens, fabric materials. It's used for cleaning the floor, any surfaces. So that's one huge change that you can already introduce that will radically change the health of your animal. Okay, we're just slightly past 9 o'clock. We'll come back to Q&A shortly, but just want to also introduce that I think in October, we're going to have another beginners class like this. That's going to be in person, and usually when we do in-person class, we also do DIYs so that pet parents can actually bring home things that are safe for their environments that they can use around. Okay, but subsequently, if I remember the date correctly, it's not here, we'll definitely send out information to you via email. It's an animal and emotions class because our animals mirror us a lot. They are so close to us, so intuitive that they almost attach themselves to us. And they take on a lot of our emotions. How do we use essential oils, or how do we use practices that help us regulate ourselves, take care of ourselves, so that our animals don't have to suffer as a consequence of carrying our burden? So if you're interested, please kind of look out for that. That's my cat Tofu. And just my contact, my email is there, my IG is there. Feel free to stay in touch with me or send me questions. I know there's a lot of comments in the chat. I'm just going to do a quick stop share. Okay, I'm back here. Let's run through. Oh, Vanessa asked, okay, what was the oil that Patricia held? Rose. It's the most expensive essential oil. We had a good laugh and said that horse very atas. My cheap oil he don't want. So Rose is a 300 plus bottle for 5 ml. Yeah, and that was what she was going for. No, the horses are really good. Yeah. Caroline, in the past, I tried RGT on my 14-year-old dog. She also loves it. It really helps condition. Nice. So good to hear that. RGT on animals, it's so helpful if they are sick and unwell. I have personally witnessed a bulldog. He was very aggressive, and the owners have never seen him calm and quiet. And we had, some of you may know Jack. Jack used to do raindrop on animals a lot. Jack worked the raindrop on that dog, and it was magical to watch how he calmed down and laid down for Jack to work with. Yeah. It's not okay. The Animal Scent series is not yet available. We're working with the company to bring in the shampoo and the ointment next year. Yeah. And meanwhile, it's available from the States. So if anybody ever needs us to purchase anything from there, yes, let us know. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? If you have a question you want to unmute, please feel free to do so. Or you have a story about animals you have used, because clearly some of you guys have used it before. Let us feel free to share. Vanessa, wow, just like lavender. Yeah. And you'll be surprised. So another story that I had was a cat mummy who used frankincense. So her cat developed an eye situation, an infection over Christmas, and the vets were not open. So I remember her texting me and showing me the picture. It was like, wow, super red eye, the cat. So what she did was she took frankincense. So she put just a tiny little bit, because usually for the human being, we put a drop. So she probably dipped only sufficient, like just instead of dripping the oil. So sometimes if you don't have time to dilute, you literally do this, is sufficient oil for the animal. And she did this, rub it into her palm, and then she held it in front of her cat. So, and the cat was like, as if he knew what she was doing. So the cat would stay there, like close enough, not too overwhelming. He would stay there and let that kind of like fumigation situation going on. And he would allow it for the next 2 days while the infection was still there. And eventually, when the infection was gone, if she did the same, she put frankincense on the palm and she went anywhere near the cat will walk away. Like, bohiu, like, for what? I don't need. So animals, trust them. Okay, they really indicate to you whether they need or they don't need. Okay. Renee, yeah, I mean, we don't know, And you'll be surprised. Try the emotional oils. Jillian here has good stories about Dash. I think Dash didn't like any of the oils that she even if she doesn't open the bottle, it's like whip out the bottle, he disappears. And Jillian was in the class with us for nervous system healing. We were working on the emotional oils feelings kit, and he would hang around her all the time. And he was so much more willing to come close to the emotional oils. So try that out. Yeah. Okay, wait. Jillian. Okay. Yeah. No, they are actually really not poisonous. Jillian, later on, I take a snapshot of the animal death reference guide. Yeah. Again, it is, I think one of the things with what's circulated out there, very often I find that we don't even know the source of where that piece of article came from. I'm going to give you a human example. So there's this crazy article at one stage. It was a bit young, the way it circulated. And it says that lavender will cause boys to grow boobs. So when, things like this on the internet, they kind of have their season. They go around and then everybody's clicking, and then it becomes like big gossip and news. So it was like wildfire, and then it would cease. In my 16 years of being in the industry, I've seen news come, go, and then come back again. And then you're like, huh? Where did it come back from again? And that particular piece of article, one of the things when people really dug into it and researched it, there was no substantiating fact around what the boy was using. So he developed breast-like shapes, I guess. But number one, was it a quality essential oil? But they eventually realized it wasn't even an essential oil. He was using a lavender-scented product. Okay, I think it was a body foaming thing or something like that. So there was so many other ingredients in there that were questionable. But what people latched on was the lavender. And then therefore there was all this misinformation, and people going crazy around, oh no, therefore you cannot use lavender around any of the men because they're all going to grow boobs. Yeah. So social media. So again, tea tree, citrus, like citrus was supposedly said poisonous, particularly for cats as well. I've used those. And there is usually, in the starter kit, those oils are pretty much safe for the animals. If you want to go extensively into essential oils for your pet, sometimes it's good to invest in a book like this. In general rule of thumb, I have found that with the Young Living oils, nothing actually really comes close to hurting an animal unless you tell me that you've poured an entire bottle of essential oil into their feed. Then I'm going to worry a little bit about how well they're going to take this. But otherwise, diffusing, etc. Again, remember the rule of thumb. If they can walk in and out, your animal is able to tell you that I don't like it. You get a sense of it. Oh, that's not something that I want to keep diffusing around them. Wintergreen, we've used it tons of times on on dogs itself for therapy. So perfectly fine. Yeah. Tea tree, same. In fact, the tea tree conversation that I had with another girl was around for cats as well. And I've checked in the essential oil death reference to make sure that it is still regarded as safe. Yeah. So yes, nice. The whole wow. That's a really nice testimony, Vanessa. You should share in our group chats. I think it's always nice to hear these stories. I've just been so amazed with stories of how the oils have worked for animals, for people, and the products that help people heal well. Yeah. Okay. I guess no questions? No one? Okay. So thank you Hang on. Thank you so much for being willing to come in and kind of listen in and understand why it's important to choose a good quality essential oil. And on top of that, how can you begin to look at reducing the toxin load for animals, because they really don't wear clothes and shoes like us, and their surface, their fur and their skin is so much more sensitive, that they get the bulk of it when we don't take care of our environment. Yeah. Oh, last two questions? Yes. No worries, Vanessa. Yes. If anybody else.
Okay. Hi,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for the sharing. It's really, really good. And I have been using quite a lot of not essential oil, Young Living products to my dog.
Hmm.
The Illuminize, Salvarzyme. I also give him BLM, Ningxia Red.
Wow, your dog is
My,
getting more
my,
than you, right?
yes, he is healthier than me.
Yes.
Yeah, because my principle is I rather give him all the good things rather than I give the money to the vet and let him suffer. Yeah.
Understand.
So my question is this. I read somewhere that the turmeric, right? The
Mm.
best turmeric to be given is the turmeric 95. Do,
Mhm.
do you know about that? Have you heard about that before? So earlier on you mentioned that the Agile
Gel
is,
is, yeah.
yeah, is the turmeric base. So is the
Mm.
turmeric is the same as the 95?
That I don't have an immediate answer for you.
Okay.
Do you have my number, or maybe we can
Uh,
chat with me, because
okay.
I can check in with the actual ingredient list with the company,
Okay.
so I can find out the source and find out for you.
Oh, okay. All
Mm.
right. I
Yeah,
think
I can also take your question, because I'm in the Facebook group with all the conference speakers,
Mhm.
and the different teachers from the animal conference I went to. So I can also post your question there if you do have one that I can't answer for you.
uh, okay. Sorry again. How to, so I private
It-
message you or
yeah, you can private message me, or one of my email is kai
yeah,
at onedrop.sg.
AI. Oh, the same thing that I have been receiving your email, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great, great. Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. And please, anyone in here, same thing. I know it's the whole supplementation and essential oils can be so new to you, and you're like a parent to your animals. So if you have a million one questions, please feel free to just ask. If your animals have specific conditions, I could, if I don't know, I can check on the reference guide and let you know. Or like I mentioned, put it into our Facebook group with the teachers so that we make sure that they are answered. Yeah. Okay. So Caroline, how do you use turmeric? It will be one of the things in terms of supplementation to include it for the animals as a added supplement, mix it into the food. So if they particularly have joint issues, yeah, bone and joint issues. So that would be helpful. But Vanessa bringing up the turmeric 95, I've never heard of it before, so I would love to take a look and give you a little bit more answers. Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. We'll send out more information to you for the class that Ellie Phillips has recorded on YouTube, and definitely let you know when we have other classes on animals and essential oils. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a very, very good night. Stay well, and we'll see you guys very soon. Oh, and if you are interested and curious about the Ningxia Red, just next Tuesday evening, also at 8 p.m., we're going to have a class. This one doesn't get streamed to the Facebook because the testimonies shared are pretty private. So we're just going to do it only in the Zoom environment. That class is solely about the Ningxia that I think you would love, even if it's for your animals. A lot of testimonies are people-based, But when you hear about it and you understand what it does for the humans, you'll be very intrigued about what it can do for your pets as well. Yeah. Okay. Everyone, have a very good night. Stay well. Yes, Carolina. Yes, for the Ningxue class. Yeah. If you're on our database and on our Facebook, you should be able to see that detail. Okay. Again, if not, reach out to me via email. Thank you. Good night, everyone.